Here we go. Okay. All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Wall Street Rundown. I'm your host, Billy Clement, and I have my co-host with me, Wale, in the house. What's up, Wale?
What's up, man? How you doing?
Doing good, man. Today's Wednesday, March 19th, man. FOMC. We talked about this last week before we left for the day, but just to give you guys a quick breakdown, the market S&P went up by like 1.1%. I think we closed at like 56.75, somewhere around there. The Dow Jones was up also. The Nasdaq was up. Some of the key drivers, of course, we talked about is the Federal Reserve announcement and some of the economic outlook that's coming up. So definitely, man, I want us to touch base on the FOMC today and kind of get your breakdown, man, on what exactly what have you heard and what does that mean for the next few quarters that we're going to see coming up.
Sure, sure. So, good positive reaction from the press conference that Powell gave. Obviously, everyone expected the Fed to hold rates. I think that was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
But as we digest some of the data that came from the meeting, I personally raise a few questions. And I understand that Powell said that the economy is strong, which is I take that with a grain of salt. And the reason why I say
Mm,
that is a couple things. Unemployment's at 4.1%, which is good. We're close to full employment. And they have made significant progress on the inflation front from where we were a year ago.
yeah.
All of those things are good. Now, let's break down what they did make revisions for. So, GDP for the year got revised down, right?
Yep.
I think it was at 2.1.
Yep.
Before, they're projecting 1.7.
1.7. Yep.
Unemployment was revised up from 4.3 to 4.4, which is not a big move, but we're at 4.1.
Right.
So what the Fed is saying is we're expecting to see increased unemployment before the end of the year.
And rightly so, right? Because we've been seeing a lot of people being,
Correct. Yep.
let go from their job. We're seeing was it Amazon? No, who just did a Google? No, Amazon. Yeah, they just did
It was
a
Amazon.
big. They're just basically cutting up all their middle management stuff. So I
Hmm.
think they're taking that into account.
Yep. So that's also part of that. And then PCE core also got revised higher.
Yep. Yep.
So what does that tell me? That's the formula for stagflation, right? We
Mm-hmm.
have slower growth, higher inflation. We have stagflation. So that's the definition of stagflation. So with that being said, I'm not saying that the market is going to all of a sudden crash because of that, but there's going to be a lot of headwinds that companies will have to navigate through 2025.
Yep.
The second thing that he said was this: we know that tariffs are going to hinder our progress to the 2% goal that we have. He knows that it's going to be an issue, but he's saying we can't necessarily quantify that issue and we can't necessarily pinpoint what's going to cause inflation, but we know it's going to hinder our progress. So if it's going to hinder progress on inflation, why are you still making rate cuts or projecting two rate cuts this year? Because this is the thing. There's only two instances, in my opinion, where you make rate cuts. Inflation is coming down progressively. That could warrant a rate cut.
Mm-hmm.
Or something in the system is giving you signals that something could be broken or something could be getting worse. Like last year, it was the unemployment data that forced their hand for that 50 basis point cut. So, what I'm thinking is that if the Fed is expecting inflation to go higher to 4.3 or 4.4% by the end of the year, that could be a reason why they start to cut because they don't want it to get any worse.
Right. Right.
So we don't know. Again, the Fed has been saying the same thing that everybody else has been saying. We don't know how tariffs are going to affect the inflation data. We have no idea.
Right.
We have to be patient. We have to analyze the data, and then we have to react based on what we see. That is going to be hindered. And the one thing he said that the tariff price shock that could happen, he used the word transitory. So he's
Mm-hmm.
thinking that it's only going to be a something very temporary because he said our long-term inflation expectations are still anchored, which means that they have no changes to those projections. But in the short term, they're expecting some friction. To me, I don't think we're going to get any rate cuts. Maybe I'd say one rate cut, maybe. And if we get two rate cuts, we're getting a rate cut because something is going bad.
Going back. Yep. Yep.
That's what I think will force the Fed's hand. So he was optimistic, and I kind of, how should I put it? I kind of get the feeling that he was probably thinking in the back of his mind, he didn't want to scare anybody.
Mm-hmm.
I think he felt that there was enough fear in the markets already that I don't need to add more fuel to the fire.
Yep.
So he was tiptoeing around that because somebody asked him. They said, "Well, if you're expecting inflation to be higher and you're expecting inflation to stay where it is, or you're expecting to see less progress, why do you still
Why?
got two cuts?"
Yeah. Yeah. Why we
And
still factoring in two cuts? Yeah.
he didn't give a direct answer. So when I saw that, I said he doesn't want to ruffle any more feathers. So that was very interesting to see.
Right. So, but I guess with the unemployment, like, he said that he's predicting 4.4%, right?
Yep.
What happens then to the market if we come at 4.5, 4.6, 4.7? Like,
Then that's, to me, that's when I will start getting nervous about the markets.
yeah.
And I think that that's when the Fed will be forced to start making cuts. Because again, 4% unemployment is basically full employment. So if you
Right.
start to drift to 4.3, 4.4, you're still in relatively good shape. Once you start getting to 4.5, 4.6, 4.7, and you start drifting away from that 4.0 target, then that's when you have some issues. And to me, the Fed always say this, they have two mandates: full employment and stable prices. So once one of those mandates is being affected, they can then step in and do what they need to do. And he specifically said, if the labor market starts to weaken, we can ease. So to me, that is a huge metric that they are watching as they're starting to get some of the data from the government cuts, from potential, other private sectors being cut and all that stuff. To
Right.
me, I think the labor market will be their signal on whether or not they're going to cut or hold. Yeah.
Now,
So
what I guess another thing I want you to kind of like talk a little bit more. I know he talked about quantitative tightening, or um, in how they're decreasing the treasury debt basically from 25 billion to 5 billion. Like,
mhm.
exactly, can you explain like what does that mean by decreasing the treasury bill?
Okay, so quantitative tightening. Let me put this in simple terms. So the Fed does two things in their monetary policy. They can buy bonds or they can sell bonds,
Yep.
right? So when they are buying bonds or letting bonds fall off of their balance sheet, those bonds then get converted to cash. So that puts cash into the system by doing that. Now, when the Fed is selling bonds, they're taking cash out of the system, right? So they're taking cash out of the system. When they're buying bonds, they're putting cash into the system. So as these bonds fall off of their balance sheet, cash is then being put back into the system. So it's creating more liquidity. So to me, what the Fed is saying is we still need more liquidity in the system for things to work. Because if you're taking liquidity out of the system, I think they're afraid that they might break something. To me, they're doing it because they're seeing signs of weakness.
Mm,
Because you don't ease your tightening if things are fine. You ease your tightening when you start seeing that things could be a little bit shaky.
right.
So, and going from 25 to 5, or is it 20, or is it 25 to 5, or is it 20 to
25
5?
25 billion to 5 billion.
Okay, so
So they
that's a
went
pretty
down.
that's a pretty substantial
Yeah.
that's a pretty substantial decrease. So I know that they said their agency runoff is going to stay the same. So,
Mm-hmm.
but it's the treasury runoff that's going to decrease.
Yep.
So they still there's what that signals is we still need more liquidity in the system because if we take too much liquidity out, something could break.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I think that is the reason why they're doing it. So I would people might overlook that small detail, but I think that's an important message. I think that's a very important message.
Yep. Yep. But overall, I think the market reacted positively. You know what I mean? Everything kind of shot up afterward. I think you called it, it started going up like a little bit before. I think at
Mm-hmm.
1:30, they usually reveal, I mean, they usually release like the notes or whatever. I
Mm-hmm.
think around that time, we've seen market start kind of edging higher and stuff. So I don't know. It seemed like the market like what Jerome was talking about, and yeah, we kind of moved up a little bit too.
Yeah.
Um, but we shall see, man. We shall see in the next quarter and the following
Yeah.
quarter, see what happens. You know.
I think that he didn't say anything to ruffle the feathers of the market. I also think that this was more of an oversold bounce. We'll
Mm.
see what that translates to into tomorrow. But I also heard hedge fund manager Steve Cohen, who runs a large hedge fund out in New York or Connecticut, I forget where it is. He's not very positive on 2025.
It's funny because a lot of people are not, like, really, a
Yeah,
lot of people are not.
he's
So
not positive on 2025. And I will say that I am neutral, but I do not expect 2025 to be a great year. I think we can still be a positive year. I don't think everything's
mhm.
going to fall off a cliff. But again, when you look at the hard data, we are slowing down. Like
Yeah,
that's just the name of the game. We are slowing down. Prices are being repriced. I mean, stocks are being repriced. Um, but to me, I don't think that we're not seeing the signs of like a recession type of slowdown. We're
yeah,
we're nowhere near that right now. So
right.
I can confidently take that off the table based on what the data shows today.
Yep,
Personally,
yep,
yeah.
yep.
So
And I mean, I'm gonna keep saying this on the fear and greed index. We are at extreme fear, right? I think we have seen this over and over. When that index get to like extreme fear, it might stay there for a few months,
mhm,
but at this time, I think the people who know how to use the market are buying long term, what is to be shares, what is to be opening leaps for
mhm,
2027. You know what I mean? I think we are, honestly, in my opinion, this is my opinion, this is not advice to anybody. In my opinion, we are in a time now where you can start deploying some of those reserve funds that you had, that you
mhm.
were holding. Not all that the whole thing, but start
Correct.
deploying them.
Yes. Yeah.
Start maybe buying one contract here, or maybe a few shares here and there. I think we are in a time right now where you can, in my opinion, I mean, I'm starting doing that, where we can start deploying some of those reserve.
Yeah.
So when the
I
market
think.
bounce back, you'll
Yeah.
be you'll be up nicely.
Yeah. I think from an investor standpoint, if you're looking 2 years out, 3 years out, 4 years out, 5 years out, there are good companies at attractive
Yep.
prices.
Yep.
Now, when I say attractive prices, I'm not saying that we're at the bottom, but you compare where we were a couple months ago, there are some
Mhm.
names out there that I like at these prices. And deploying cash is not a bad idea, but also be prepared to buy more if we start to see
Yep.
more weakness.
Start dipping some more. Yep. Yep.
Correct. Yeah.
Yep.
So,
All I'm saying is this is the time that we've been talking about, where you start really doing some
yes.
shopping, like
Yes.
really
Yep.
trying to figure out, okay,
Yep.
we some of them dropped 20-30%.
Yes.
Like a lot of the stocks that we have are in deep correction territory. You know what I
Correct.
mean?
Yep. Yep.
So
Yeah.
maybe it's time to start looking at some. And again, I know Wale keeps saying this, like, don't deploy everything at once. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. When you see a 20 or 30% drop from a stock
Yeah.
that has good fundamentals. So
Mhm.
the revenues are good, the business isn't shrinking, things are growing. Those are the names you want to buy.
Yep.
Buy names that have good fundamentals,
Yep.
right? So just because a stock is dropping doesn't necessarily make it a good buy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if it's dropping while revenue is dropping and gross margins are dropping and the business is dropping, well, that stock is dropping for a very, very
For a
good
reason.
reason.
Yeah. There's a reason
Now,
why.
if a stock is dropping because the overall economy is going down, or the overall economy is slowing down, because again, you cannot diversify what I call systemic risk. You cannot diversify that. I
Mm-hmm.
don't care what you buy or what you have. You cannot diversify out of that. So if there's something in the system that's causing stocks to drop, in this case, slow growth, find companies with good revenues and good business models and start buying them and
Yep.
hold them long term and just wait.
Yep.
Very simple.
Yep.
Very simple.
Yep. And I think in a couple of years, and the crazy thing with the market is when momentum comes, it doesn't take a couple of years, right? It really don't. When the momentum start building into the market, it doesn't take you that long before you start seeing your position go up a little bit. So
Mm-hmm.
take that with a grain of salt, do your research. Actually, we did a really, really, really good video back in the day on exactly the things you talked about. How to look at your balance sheets, how to look at your income and all that stuff for a company, right?
Mm-hmm.
A really good video. I feel like we should put a link on that for that in
Yeah,
the
I should
show.
probably put that up. Yeah. So we did
Yeah.
a Zoom call about how
Yep.
to analyze the balance sheet of a company.
Yes. Yes.
So if you're looking to buy good names and you want to learn how to do the research, I can post that in the subscription
Yep.
so that people can do that.
I think that's a really good time to start diving into that video and actually start looking. Like if you see a stock that you like, go to that exercise,
Yep.
and analyze the exact stock that you're looking for and see if that's a good buy or not. I mean,
Yep.
it is a really good video, guys. I hope you guys get a chance to look at it. So let's fast forward and talk about NVIDIA. NVIDIA held their conference this was it today or yesterday? That was on the
It's over
17th.
2 days. Over two
Yeah.
days. Yeah.
So I want to get your input, man, because I feel like the focus was so much on AI.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was like, there's something missing. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know. It was just me. I was like, something's missing. Like we're not talking about certain other things. So I just want to get your feedback on that, on the things that are revealed, what the future of AI, and all the stuff that goes into the makeup of how to actually like, I guess, expand this AI thing that we have.
So the biggest thing that I took from what I heard from Jensen Huang and also from his interview with Kramer is that he's still betting big on the future of AI. Like that train is not slowing down. And from a product standpoint, there's chips and then there's also automation and robotics that they're starting to build out for the future.
Yep.
When the robotic stuff starts to build out, I don't know when that's going to take place. I don't know what the timeline is on that. But as far as the demand for AI, like what he's trying to do or what they're looking for, they're trying to get AI to a point where it can reason within limits and within guidelines and things like that, and giving
Yep.
it that ability to reason like a human. And they are betting really big on that. And the number that I took from that, he said that there is a $1 trillion total addressable market between now and 2028
That is nuts.
when it comes to data center construction and what's needed to power the need for AI. We're talking about 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
3 years. $1 trillion. Now, that doesn't mean that they're going to be the take the lion's share of that total addressable market. But what do you do when you hear something like that? You start thinking about every component that builds that
That goes in there.
ecosystem.
Yes.
So $1 trillion, right? That's probably bigger than the GDP of some countries.
I
So
mean, BlackRock manages, right? That's how much they manage.
that's how much they see. I think BlackRock might be a little bit above
A little
that
bit
now.
more?
Maybe. I don't
God
know.
dang, that's crazy.
I'm not sure. But Jensen Wong, again, um, when he makes bold predictions like that, I don't take those lightly. Because
Mm-hmm.
remember when NVIDIA was on that monster run, right? And he was talking about how big the AI opportunity was. he put out some big numbers that I was like,
Yep.
whoa, but the
Yep.
stock took off and the revenue was growing at a
Hmm.
pace that was just astronomical. So when he makes that claim today, I don't take that lightly. I take that very
No.
seriously. Um, and to me, like that's a huge opportunity. That is a huge opportunity.
Yep.
And
Yep. Yep.
the what I tell investors is where do you start looking? How do you position yourself to get a piece of the pie? Because in my opinion, it's not just about NVIDIA. It is
Hmm.
not just about NVIDIA. NVIDIA again, NVIDIA might be the star player, but the supporting cast is very, very essential to the bigger picture story.
Yep. And the other thing that I found interesting is actually working on that gigawatt AI factories. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you talk about like a huge, huge investment. So I think we should break this down a little bit more. So
Yep.
NVIDIA designs the chips, right?
Yep.
They're designers. They don't manufacture it. They don't make it. None of this. They design it, right? Now let's take it a step down. Who's actually going to make those chips, right? So let's talk about those companies in the middle. And I know we talked a lot about TSM. You've been talking about TSM since last year, you know. So talk a little bit. What is TSM role? But not just TSM, but I'm talking about like TSM, Intel, who's the other ones? Um, Dang it. But I'm talking about like all those other companies that are actually going to be involved in that process to be able to make those chips. So that's another bracket of investment alone, right? That we can
Yep.
actually talk on. So just talk a little bit about that again, because I know you talked about it a lot. I heard it in Orient Leisure too, and I was like, my boy, Wale been talking about this for a while. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm late
So
to the game.
so let me give you the simple breakdown, right? So you have NVIDIA who designs the chips. Then you have TSM who actually manufactures the chip. So they're the chip builders, right? So they
Mhm.
build the chips. Then in that ecosystem, there's another company, and I'm trying to pull up the symbol, and I think I got it wrong. And if I can't find it, oh yeah, another essential piece to the manufacturing piece of chips, ASML,
Yep, SML. There you
because
go.
they are the company that has that ultraviolet technology that's able
Hmm.
to do the inscriptions at the like 3 nanometer um like distance. Like I'm talking about like small inscriptions into the chips. They are a big partner with TSM.
You're right.
So, and I think they are a Norwegian company. They're somewhere out of the country. So those are three pieces that play a picture or play a part in the whole ecosystem of this, the design to the manufacturer.
Right.
Now, once those chips are built, you have to house those chips into servers. TSM don't make servers.
Exactly.
NVIDIA don't make servers. ASML don't make servers. So whoever starts to build the servers to house those chips, they're also going to be part of that ecosystem. Now, within the servers, you have companies that create the technology to allow those chips to talk to each other,
Yep.
right? TSM don't do that. NVIDIA don't do that.
Right.
So you have companies that specialize in chip networking so that they can speak to each other, right? So that's another piece. Then the other piece that's part of that is the power needed to keep these data centers running pretty much 24/7.
Yep.
So you've got power providers that are going to be a big part of that.
Yep.
We've been talking about nuclear being a alternative source of generating power for these data centers for clean energy. To me, I think another thing that's going to have to be invested in, I think that the government's probably going to have to invest in the grid. The grid is going to need to be updated.
It's going to be updated.
So there's going to be
Absolutely.
there's going to be companies and contractors that benefit from that stuff.
Yep.
Then once you've kind of built the ecosystem, you've got the data center that's powering all the chips. You also have the real estate that's needed to
Yep.
build and house these data centers, right? So there are companies that specialize in data center real estate.
Mm-hmm.
Those companies could also benefit. And then lastly, once you got all the pieces together, the final piece is you got to keep the information safe.
Mm-hmm. Security.
Cybersecurity is going to be very important. And that story is not going away. You know how I know it's not going away? Google just dropped $32 billion in cash to buy Wiz, which is a cybersecurity company out of Israel.
Yep.
So if Google is spending 32 billion on cybersecurity, what does that tell you about the future of cybersecurity when it comes to the AI picture? It means that
Very,
it's
very
going to be
important.
very, very important.
Mm-hmm.
So there are going to be players in different companies in all of these different segments of AI. And I'm pretty sure there's going to be, some private companies that you can't trade. There's going to be a lot of public companies that are going to be part of that ecosystem.
Right.
And we're sharing all of that information in our investment group and letting people know this is where I would be looking. But I'm really big on cybersecurity, and I'm also big on chip manufacturing. If I were to only pick two, those would be the big two that I would go with.
Yep. 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 And I still want to drive home the energy portion, right?
Hmm.
That is something that's lacking right now. Because
Yes.
what are the options right now? We have electricity, so which means that companies can, um, be able to plug into existing grid, right? Or natural gas, where they can plug into existing grid. But that's taking toll on like cities because it's like those um chips or those servers or those plant that actually have to host or keep those servers and chips cool and all that stuff, they use so much energy. It's crazy. You know what I mean? Like they use so much energy.
And
And
you just mentioned something I forgot to mention.
mm,
Cooling.
cooling. Yeah, that's another
Cooling.
thing.
Yep,
Yeah.
cooling.
So all of that component, man, like I think the most not looked out for or not talked enough about portion of all of that stuff you talked about is the energy that's going to take to keep those things running,
Oh yeah.
you know. And on top of that, the real estate. So but I think the energy part is still people still trying to figure that out. So
Yeah.
so you can plug it honestly, you can plug yourself in any part of this journey. The only thing is that you have to find the right company within that, right? That actually
Yes. You got to
actually
find the
makes
right.
sense.
Yep. You
Yeah.
got to find the right company within that ecosystem
Yeah.
that makes the most sense. And if you don't want to find the right company, you can probably just find the right ETF.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. Find the right
Fine.
ETF and just plug yourself somewhere in
Hmm.
that ecosystem for long term and see how it works from there.
Yeah. But my thing is if Jensen Wong is saying there's going to be a $1 trillion total addressable market for AI data center construction and the need for, you know, AI infrastructure,
Mhm.
I'm riding that train. I am riding that train.
They did announce partnership with General Motors also to build custom AI for them for their autonomous vehicle.
This
So
autonomous vehicles. Yep.
yeah, so it looks like yeah, GM is going into autonomous vehicle and they are gonna, you know, tap NVDA for that. So
Mm-hmm.
that's
Yep.
another thing too. So all this different collaboration that they're actually gonna work on. And they unveiled tons of robots. I was like, oh my God. Like, what were you guys hiding these robots? Like those things look like from the robot that we've seen with like maybe have like a 2D movement, we have
Yeah.
like a robots that have 4D movement now, like
Mm-hmm.
arms twisting, fingers, everything. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's crazy how accurate those robots are starting to look like. And it's starting to move more like humans. It's starting to interact with humans. You know what I mean? It's starting to answer questions similar to how, you have a conversation with any human. They don't even sound like they might still have like delays in response and all this stuff, but all of that will be better with the developing more chips, faster processing, and all this stuff, right? The
Mm-hmm.
only reason they're doing that, this is what we're seeing right now is the slowest robot will ever be, is the slowest AI will ever be. Right now, we live in this time.
Only
Every
gonna get
day,
faster and
yeah,
gonna get
every
better.
day from here, it's just gonna get faster. So this is we definitely live in a time where like it's crazy. So the other thing that I didn't hear him talk about, I know he said that is looking like 10, maybe 15 years down the road, is quantum computing.
Mm.
I did not hear anybody mention that. I didn't hear him talk about that at all. Even though we're building chips that's going to be faster, that maybe will be used for quantum computing, but he didn't even mention that. I
I
want to get
think
your feedback on that. Like, what do
I
you think about
actually think that he did talk about a company that they're partnering with quantum.
that?
Is it called Quantum Minimum? quantum minimum, I think it was. He did say something about quantum.
Okay, maybe I missed that piece, but it's like I didn't hear like a lot of conversation on quantum at all.
Yeah, I
NVIDIA.
think some company was let me see. Did I delete that watch list? I gotta research it later. But I think he did. There's some company that they might be partnering with when it comes to quantum. But yeah, man. The AI story again, I from what I'm hearing and from what I'm seeing, it's not something that should be taken lightly at all.
Nope. Nope.
No.
Nope. But speaking of NVIDIA actually ran up today. We ran right against that 200 EMA, and we kind of dropped a little bit, but this is something that I'm really keeping an eye on to see if we can run back to that 200 EMA and close above that and see where we go from there.
Yeah. And the thing that I continue to take a look at is, if we continue to trade under the 200-day EMA on stocks or, on names, you just have to be mindful that under that level, any rally can fade
Yep,
quickly.
absolutely.
It can fade quickly because what was it? A couple of days ago, NVIDIA got above that,
Yeah, and we
sold
dropped
off.
we dropped right back down. Yep.
The market, I think, touched it, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if it was QQQ or SPY. Okay, yeah. SPY has now wicked off of the 200-day EMA twice.
Mhm.
So until we start to get sustained momentum above those levels, you have to take these rallies with a grain of salt. Like you just
Yep.
have to take it with a grain of salt that they can eventually fade.
Yep.
So until we start making higher highs and higher lows on a technical standpoint, it's another thing you want to look at from technicality standpoint is that okay, we're quite not there yet. Now I will say this with SPY, the low was 549.68. We made a higher low the next day, then we made a higher low the next day, then we shifted back down to 558 ish, and then
Hmm.
now we made a higher low than yesterday and a higher high than yesterday. So we are moving in the right direction.
Yep.
Yes. But are we completely out of the woods? No.
I don't think so. I don't think
Yeah,
so.
not yet. Not yet. And that's just looking at it from a technical standpoint. So
Right.
now there are some stocks that have made pretty strong progress above the 200-day EMA. I'll give CrowdStrike as one that has
Hmm.
made pretty substantial. I think it hit a low of 303. Now we're at 375. That's a
Yep.
pretty decent move. So once you start seeing broader participation in other sectors and in other parts of the market, you see certain names, sometimes they make a base, like they start just trading sideways for quite some
Hmm.
time. Then they start making their moves. When you have more stocks moving in those directions, then you can have confidence that things are going to start moving.
Yep. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So yeah, we'll see. We'll see. But
The other thing that kind of scared me a little bit with especially some political tension that's happening again. It looks like the war in Gaza is about to escalate again with Israel and all this stuff. So it looks like they're
yeah,
launching boots on the ground. So I don't know how that's if it's gonna have impact on the market at
on the
all.
market, yeah, that's true. That's
Yeah.
true.
The
Yeah.
other thing, you see the negotiation with Russia and Ukraine about
Hmm.
ceasefire and stuff. Let's see if that's followed through. If nothing crazy come out of that. So all these things that you still gonna take into account. Also on top of that, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And it looks like we sent a strike into Iran, I think last week. So I was watching that to see if anything gonna escalate from that. Luckily, nothing happened so far, but if something happened also in that arena. So it's like you still got to take these things into account. We're not outside of the stock market. The political environment is still not very stable when it comes between like different countries and stuff. So
Hmm.
those usually can have some impact to the market also. So still keep an eye on those also.
And then April 2nd is still around the corner.
Yep, literally, and that's another day you still got to watch out for. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like,
So
or we might come up with another tariff for another country. I don't know. So all of
yeah.
those things you still got to take into account.
Yeah, because tariffs have been out of the headlines at least for the last two
Oh
days. So
yeah,
that's a good breath of fresh air. But we'll
yeah.
have to wait and see what happens on the second to see if we start seeing more announcements or we start seeing retaliatory tariffs. And
Yep.
that headline will move the market. We all know that. We've
Yep.
seen it.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
we'll just have to wait and see what happens with that.
Yep. Well, I mean, Warren Buffett ain't buying nothing. We haven't seen anything yet, but I can tell you who's buying. Some congressmen and congresswomen are buying Intel. So at least we know that's happening. So let's dive into Intel a little bit. So some of the updates on Intel, we just got a new CEO, right?
Hmm.
Doing a couple in actually I think they're doing a couple of collaboration with like I think with NVIDIA and what's the other one? They're doing some collaboration with different
I
companies.
think Broadcom.
Broadcom and TSM also on top of that. So it's like they're doing all these different collaborations. So again, let's break that down a little because you sent me that really, really, really nice video, and I was like, whoa, like this actually makes sense. Like, for TSM to not necessarily be 100% move all their stuff to the US,
Hmm.
but kind of like, still have a good relationship with the US and be able to kind of like still invest in this arena, right? So I don't know if you want to do a breakdown of that video real quick and tell me what you thought about it.
Yeah, so there's a page on Instagram called Quiver Quant. Shout out to them. They posted some really good information about
Yep.
why TSM is not going to move all of their manufacturing from Taiwan to the US, but they said that they would move some,
Some of them.
because I'm pretty sure that a lot of the manufacturing that happens in Taiwan creates jobs and it helps their economy a whole. And as long as they manufacture chips that U.S. companies needs, the U.S. has a special interest to protect Taiwan from China. So
Yep. Yep.
they also said that in the video. Very good point. But then he also mentioned that there are members of Congress buying Intel stock. And this is as of like February. There was two that he
Yep.
highlighted in the video. Um, so that just tells me we've been on the right train for quite
We've
some
been
time
we've been
now.
we've been we've been on the right track, man.
Because we've been talking about Intel when it was trading under 20, like 18,
Yep.
19.
Yep.
We're at 24 right now. It did get hammered today. That was a huge drop today. I don't know what that was for, but
Yeah, it
it
got
did.
rejected at that 200 again.
Yeah. So hopefully it reverts the move higher. But anytime I see members of Congress buying stuff, that tells me I'm on to something.
Yep. 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 If only Kathy would buy some options on these. Not Kathy, Pelosi. If only Pelosi would buy
I
some
know, right?
contracts on Intel.
If you start seeing Pelosi buying options, that's the icing on the
Bruh,
cake that you on the right track.
yeah, you better load up. Something's about to happen.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So,
I just found it interesting that, like, yes, we talked about a lot about this, but our theory was, hey, this is a US based company. It's been a giant in this industry. It's been a leader in the industry for a while. They ran into a couple of maybe bad management, just being comfortable in the space and not be innovative and stuff. And
yep,
hey, a
yep.
company like NVIDIA that within the past 10 years came in and just basically pull the rug
And
from under
and
them.
AMD and AMD.
AMD also, yeah. So you see all these companies just like it started out as $2-3 company, and then now all of a sudden like $1 billion companies. You know what I mean? So $1 trillion companies for that matter. So it was like, you know, that just goes to say that don't get comfortable. Do not get comfortable, especially if you're a leader in the market. Apple, don't get comfortable. I'm gonna keep shooting shots at Apple, man. I was like, I am disappointed in that company so far, but don't get comfortable, man, because yeah, somebody will come along and might take your crown away from you. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah.
Intel to me is the only chip manufacturer in the US that could possibly give TSMC a run for their money.
Mhm.
Only one. I don't see anybody else being a an issue. And with TSMC building and producing chips in the US, that just kind of tells me that they're ahead of the game. They're kind of like, okay, we want to show the US that we're committed to helping them too. Let's start building plants in Arizona. You know, let's stay in the good graces of Mr. Trump so we don't
Yep.
get we don't get in the crosshairs of the tariff war. So, they to me again, I've been saying this, I've been saying it, I've been saying it, I've been saying it. TSMC to me is a bigger, more important company in the AI story
Yep.
than NVIDIA.
Yep. Yep.
Plain and simple. Now,
Absolutely.
unless NVIDIA makes a pivot one day and says, we're going to use Intel to build our chips, or we're going to build chips on our own, then that's a completely different story.
I
That's a
mean, you
completely
never
different
know.
story.
You never know.
And that's the thing. You don't
Yeah.
know. You do not know. You do not know. Because I'm pretty sure Intel never thought that Apple was going to start making their own chips.
Nope. They got dropped like hotcake. Like, nope.
Got dropped like hotcakes. So
Mm-hmm.
you also talk about, remember we saw this in the news a couple weeks ago. Facebook is looking to start training
Their
their
own.
own AI chips
Yep.
to kind of not necessarily be dependent on NVIDIA.
Yep.
So companies can pivot to these other, now chip manufacturing, that's hard. That's very hard.
Mm-hmm.
So it might be very, especially when it comes to these AI chips, because I guess the technology needed to really manufacture them is it's not easy. It's a
Yep.
very rigorous process.
Yep.
So could it happen? Like, could NVIDIA pivot to a completely different manufacturer down the road? It's possible, but I don't know. I'm not quite there yet. I still think TSMC is the and the thing is that even if TSMC loses NVIDIA, who was probably a major company, they have
Mm-hmm.
other people that they supply chips to as well. So,
Right. Right.
yeah.
But if they're smart enough, they will corner that market, right? Maybe making sure they have the up to date like equipment to be able to manufacture.
Oh
Maybe make
yeah.
sure make sure
Oh
they're
yeah.
the only ones that have certain equipment to be able to
Mm-hmm.
manufacture
Mm-hmm.
certain things. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like they could definitely corner the market in that way. But I still believe, like you said, TSM is the underdog that's still kind of trading at a really good number.
Oh yeah.
Long term. I mean, if you really look at it long term, that this is a good price, right? 174. You come, well, the highest they hit was
226.
26. So what,
Yeah.
50? No, that's like 60, $70 right there. Almost no, $80.
Yeah,
$80?
that's a pretty significant drop.
Yeah. So they definitely dropped, like, yeah, they dropped to like 167. So it was like almost an $80 drop. But again, they are still kind of chilling. They're not really doing a lot of move right now, but that's one also to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I'm big on TSN. Really big on TSN. So
yeah. But going into next week, and I guess what sort of things that we should watch for, right? Because next week is it the last week of the month next week? Yeah.
yeah, last full week of the month.
Oh my God. This
Yeah.
this month is done. That's crazy.
Let me see what's coming up. So we get PCE on Friday, the 28th.
Yep.
And then the 27th, we get fourth quarter GDP, which is going to be the fourth or the third estimate on the 27th. So that I think that the last GDP reading we're going to get is on the 27th, and then we're going to get PCE on the 28th. And then we get GDP product by state and personal income by state, which I don't really care about. So yeah, but I think I've said this before. Um, I think Q1 GDP estimates, at least the first reading, we're going to get on April 30th. So I want to see what that number looks like. And like I said, if that number comes out negative,
Mhm.
that's not going to be good.
That's not gonna be good at
No.
all.
And again, people keep saying that the negative Atlanta Fed GDP number was due to the import number that I guess, and they're saying don't look at that, don't worry about it.
No, but somebody felt
It is
somebody
what it
felt
is.
somebody felt it was important enough to talk about it.
Hey,
So
so we'll see. We'll see. April 30th, we gonna see. We gonna see if you
oh
lie.
my
We gonna see if
God.
you lying or not.
Oh my
Somebody gonna
God.
call Cap. We shall see. So mark your calendars for April 30th, and we'll see what that estimate is going to be. But I will say this: the Fed is saying the economy is going to slow down. So
Mm,
I will say that expect things to be very, very choppy
yep, yep, yep.
between now and you know the first couple quarters. So April 2nd is when we get our tariffs, and we'll see what happens to inflation.
Yeah. But I mean, if you open the chart and look at long term, charts on a lot of this ETF like QQQ, SPY, and all this stuff. They don't look very encouraging, right? Because we have failed two down on almost a lot of those
On the higher time frame. Yep.
on like a 6 months, 3 months. Like we see a lot of like failed two ups. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So we're still not out of the woods.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're definitely still not out of the woods. So
Yeah.
we shall see.
Yeah. And like I said, it to me, the higher time frames always tell the true story. Like as a trader, you can always trade the short term movement within a bigger picture. So you might see like a bullish, you might see like a bearish monthly chart and a bearish weekly chart. But
Mm-hmm.
when you start dropping down to like the daily or the hourly or the 30-minute, you might see some bullish momentum that you want to trade.
Yep. Yep.
Nothing wrong with that. You can
Yep.
do that. Just don't overstate your welcome because you do have the possibility that it can revert back to the bigger trend.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
I like to trade what the bigger trend is most times. What is the bigger trend? Is it bullish or bearish? That's what I like to do.
Mm-hmm.
But again, just because you see a bullish move within a larger bearish trend doesn't mean that the trend has changed completely.
Change. Yep. Yep.
It
Yep.
hasn't changed. So again, take that with a grain of salt because remember what we saw last Friday, right? We saw a rally last Friday.
Yep.
And then what did we see earlier this week?
It dropped.
It reverted back to the bigger trend.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, as a trader, you have to be aware, what are you trading? Do you want to trade the short-term incremental trend, or do you want to trade the longer term, or the higher time frame trend? So think about that as you're trading. You can pivot between the two if you want to, but me as a trader, I like to trade, what the bigger trend is. And
Yeah.
man, we caught that. I didn't catch all of it, but that 7% drop on Wayfair yesterday. Whew,
Yo, I caught that late, man. Like I caught it
it
late.
happened late,
Mm-hmm.
man,
Mm-hmm.
because the gap down happened and then it started to move and I had to leave. I had to do something. And I was like, all right, I don't want to overstay my welcome. 30%, 31%, I'm
Yeah,
out.
like I'm down.
If I would have stayed in that trade, that could have been an easy 100%.
Yep.
I think someone else in the group made 57%. Shout out to Dr. Butler. But yeah, that was a nice trade.
Yep.
Now,
Yep.
it was up like 6% today, but I would not be surprised if it started to revert back to the bigger
Reverse back
trend.
down. Yep.
Yeah, so we'll have to just wait and see. Actually, it did break above an area of interest. So maybe it starts to move higher. I don't know. But the bigger trend is still bearish. So just always remember that when you're trading is look at the bigger trend, decide do you want to trade the bigger trend or do you want to trade the small like mini trend that's kind of occurring at the moment.
Yep. Yep. But like we said, like the long term direction is still bearish in the market, right?
Right now.
Yeah.
Yep.
The problem with the market is like it's not a straight line, right?
No.
It's if it's going down, it's probably gonna do like up and down, up and down, up and down. But you can always tell if you look at the longer of the higher time frame, you can kind of build a trajectory where
The
it's
higher
okay.
time frames will smoothen out a lot of the
Yeah.
friction that you see.
Yep, yep, yep.
Yeah.
So just word of cautions out there, So just be careful. Don't throw all your money in there, and especially if you're trading if you're trading on a smaller time frame, just be mindful of that.
Yeah.
Um, the other thing I think I had on my list is the Tesla. It says Tesla short made $16 billion, right, from shorting Tesla. I think it's a little bit more than that, but but what are your thought on that, man? I feel like Tesla is just like I don't. Okay, so we definitely have to separate the two, right? We have to separate the politics from the company itself, right? Because I think like in terms of the company, Elon been making some crazy contracts with the government, and like they're doing like some crazy stuff with the government, right? But that doesn't seem to factor in with the shares right now because of the whole political environment that's happening right now with Tesla,
So
right?
the only thing that I think he's doing with the government on the Tesla front is the Cybertrucks for the army.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else I think he's doing with the government has to do with SpaceX.
SpaceX, yep,
Yeah.
which is a
So
completely different company.
completely different company. So to me, couple things are driving the stock down? Number one, reputation is hurting him.
Yep.
So I think a lot of analysts are saying that with reputation hurting him, there's people that are going to stop buying Teslas.
Yep.
You know, people are going to um, are going to not only stop buying, but maybe when their leases expire, are not going to renew their leases. Also, too, the competition in China.
Yeah. Yeah.
BYD just unveiled a charger or battery that can charge with the speed of lightning,
Yep.
pretty
Yep.
much.
Oh, and did you see? There's a video actually where the guy pulls in with his electric car, and the battery gets replaced. In that, I swear, it's like you pulled in, the car goes down. When you sitting in the car, it replaces the battery itself, like the whole battery, no charging. You just replaces the entire battery in like 3 to 4 minutes. You're done, and you can just drive off with a brand new battery.
Awesome,
I was
awesome.
like,
Like
that's
F1, like
crazy.
F1,
Yes,
like an F1 pit
like
stop.
an
Oh
F1.
wow.
Yes, like a pit stop, like literally. But I mean, but it's a little slower than F1. But
I'll be honest with you. I think that Elon is losing the EV battle in China.
yeah. Oh, big time, big
I think
time,
he's losing that battle.
big time.
And I don't know how much it's going to hurt them as a company because they built the plant there.
Hmm?
But I mean, if you look at the other manufacturers in that country, as far as EVs are concerned, they are 10 times better than Tesla's.
Right, right,
So
right, right.
I don't know if that China pivot is going to be a good long term move because all the
Uh,
other companies are, to me, almost seems like they're 10 steps ahead of Tesla.
yeah, yeah,
So,
way, way ahead of Tesla. And then you
yeah.
see that Polestar is actually offering like $20,000 uh vehicle discount if you trade in your Tesla.
Wow.
Yeah, if you switch your Tesla over from them from Tesla to them, they give you
Jeez.
$20,000 discount. So there's definitely a lot of stuff
Sheesh.
like racking against them, and I think Lucid is doing $4,000 or $5,000 incentive also if you trade in your Tesla. So everybody's coming for Tesla. Everybody's trying to grab that market, right? Because it's out for grab right now.
It's out for grabs right now. Yeah.
Yeah, like if you feel like you don't support, then yeah, come.
The sh-
what
the sharks
what
the
is
sharks smell blood in the water.
what does Snoop say? Like come to the West Coast. Don't forget, get out of the West Coast.
You talking about Suge Knight?
Yeah.
If you don't want your producer dancing all up in your
All in the
videos,
videos.
come to Death Row.
Come to death. I feel like that's what these other companies are saying. If you don't want your company CEO all on Twitter, all on Instagram, all on Facebook, come to Lucid. That's
That's
crazy, man.
funny. Yeah.
That's a hip hop. That's a hip hop thing. If you don't get it, we're sorry, man. We apologize. But go look up Suge Knight speech. That was an epic speech. But anyways,
Yeah.
but yeah, everybody's coming for Tesla now. Everybody's coming for Tesla's customers. So I think a lot of people are gonna leave. And a lot of people who are driving Tesla right now, I think they're under a lot of pressure because people like, you know, either scratching their car, or you see that one guy that burned a whole lot of Teslas.
Man, I saw that.
Yeah, I was like, God
I
damn,
saw that.
man. And then I don't know if it was in Texas or where, like the Tesla charger station was on fire too. So it's like, yeah, people are taking matters into their hands, man, to show their discontent with all the things that's happening. So,
Yeah, he's a marked man right now. His company is
oh
is,
yeah,
is
this
yeah.
company is a mark. It's definitely. I mean, and I know he's trying to like say that, hey, the company's separate from me as a person, but I was like, I don't know, man. It's kind of like Tim Cook saying I'm separate from Apple, or Juan
Exactly,
coming saying
right?
I'm separate from
Exactly.
NVIDIA. People not gonna take that,
Yeah, they're not taking
So
that. No, 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 no.
yeah,
Yeah.
so we'll,
So
we'll see. We'll see how
yeah,
that goes, man.
yeah.
I think that's putting a lot of pressure on them.
If you're a Tesla investor, you are in for a rough
Oh
ride.
my god,
You're in for a
dude.
rough ride. You're in for a rough ride. Now, I will say this though: when they report earnings, and the shorts have to cover, if the numbers are still good,
Yeah,
then
that's
that will give Tesla the proof that they need that, hey, y'all did all this XYZ to
and we're still
me, and
good.
y'all try to kick me when I'm down, but the business is still good. So
Yep.
if they can, now I will say this though, if I'm not mistaken, the last time they reported earnings, didn't they miss on revenue? I think they might
Yep.
have missed on
But they
revenue.
still went up. They still went
So
up. The stock still went up,
You know how
which is crazy.
he be finagling those calls. I think the robo taxi stuff is what helped the stock go up.
Yep.
But a lot of people analysts on the street, they've got price cuts on Tesla, and I think JP Morgan's price cut is below 120. I mean,
Oh my God.
$200. So I don't know. I'm not. I've got a few Tesla leaps for 2027. Whether I will add to those yet, I do not know because I'm expecting a rough ride. So we'll see.
Yeah, yeah. But I think long run they'll be good, right? Because I think fundamentally wise, that's why I say you gotta be able to separate the politics from the company, which sometimes is hard
From
because
the
people,
company, yes.
yeah, because sometimes people are very emotional when it comes to those things, right? But fundamentally wise, like it's not a bad company. It's just the focus is just not there. So
Yeah. So we'll see. But
yeah.
yeah, if you're a Tesla investor, man, put on your seatbelt.
Yeah, pretty much. All right, man. We got 3 more minutes. Any advice going into this week, the end of this week, tomorrow, and then Friday, and then early next week? What should people expect with the market and all this stuff?
Yeah, my thing is just going to be looking at those longer term moving averages. Can we get above those? Can we hold those levels? There was a key level battleground area today on QQQ. I was looking at 481.50. We closed below it, but we are looking at futures and we are above it right now. I will take that with a grain of salt. Um, if we can get above it and sustain above it, I think the next level I'd be looking at would be somewhere near 490. And then if we can get above that, then we might be in okay shape. But
Yep.
until we start getting above those longer term moving averages, I'm not convinced that any sort of rally or any sort of upward momentum
Don't
is
sustain. Yeah.
sustainable. So,
Yeah.
but again, I do have a shopping list of stocks that I like. Again, cybersecurity, chip manufacturing, and then AI energy. Um, I'll be looking at those pretty closely. And I will say that Oklo has earnings in 7 days, and that is on
Yep.
my
I
calendar.
am. I am watching that bad boy.
And that's
Yep.
on the 24th. So that's
Yep.
next week. So I will be paying close attention to what they have to say on their earnings call. So,
Yep. 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 We are definitely. We didn't go below the 200 EMA, which made me happy because I was like, if
yes.
we break that, I was like, I don't know where we're going from there,
Yeah.
but we kind of stayed above that. So let's see where we go from here.
Yeah.
That major resistance is at 29.73. I think that's, yep, that level right there we got rejected from on the 17th on Monday.
Yep.
So let's see if we can get above that and actually hold.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. If we can get above that and hold, clear all those stop orders,
Yeah.
I think we'll be in good shape. So we'll have to be patient.
Absolutely.
I will
Absolutely.
also say this too. If you're hedging your portfolio, continue to hedge your portfolio.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, keep doing it because there's still a lot of uncertainty. Now, the VIX trading under 20 was a good thing today.
Yes, finally. But still high. It's still
Still
high,
high,
you
still
know?
high, but trading under 20 is a good thing.
Yep.
I will also say that the momentum on the VIX is starting to lose energy, which is also a good thing. So, lower momentum on the VIX, starting to teeter near the higher moving averages. Those are
Yep.
two good things that I will be hopefully will continue. But yeah.
Yeah. We'll see, man. I think there's a magnet going back to like the 200 EMA. There's like
Hmm.
a value gap, bullish value gap there. So let's see. That's around like 17, $18. I mean, 16,
Oh, on the
$17.
VIX? Yeah, on the VIX. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we shall see if we get a bounce from there or just, yeah, keeping an eye on that one.
Yep.
All right, y'all. I don't see any questions coming through, but definitely make sure you keep your eyes on the stock for the next couple of days. And let's see if we can edge a little higher.
And we are at 59 subscribers, so we're making progress from where we were
Yes.
last time. So I appreciate those who subscribed. Yeah, tell your family members, your friends, just trying to provide really good analysis about what's going on in capital markets
Yep.
to
Yep.
guide you on your journey.
Yep.
So, this is the place to be at.
Please, if you got a chance, join the group. We do a lot of chit chat over there. We do a lot of analysis on there. We do a lot of stocks that's trading for the day. We'll do all of that stuff in there. So hopefully you guys to be able to join in there and be able to see us in the chat room.
Yeah. So we talk about trading and investing. So if you're not a trader, but you're an investor, a serious
It's a good
investor,
place. Yep.
lots of good information in the group if you want to join. So
Yep.
we will see you guys on Friday.
Friday. Yep. All right, y'all. Have a good night.
All right. Good night, everyone. Take care.
Peace.
Peace.